right now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Seth Joyner is with us. Of course, you see him locally on NBC Philadelphia on the Eagles pre- and post-game shows on Eagle Game Days, and he joins us now on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Seth, congratulations, man, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. How you guys doing today?
We're doing good, and it's good to talk to you. Of course, you're very close to what's going on with the current team, but I want to get your thoughts on your team. I talked about this last night on one of our shows about if your defense played today, the field would be yellow all the time. The way the game is called now, the way your team was so aggressive and just always all around the ball, you guys would be getting flagged on every play.
Yeah, I think we'd be playing for fun, for free too, because we wouldn't. No way we'd make it. We'd earn a check. We'd be getting so many fines every week that we'd just be basically playing the game for free. But it's a different game. When a major, entity, major corporation like the NFL gets sued for $760 million, that then gets turned over to over $1 billion. This is the ramifications of what you see. And while I can respect what they're attempting to do and what they're trying to do, there's a certain known component of the occupational hazard of what you do when you play football. And the trade-off, for the most part, is, you're living your dream, you're making the king's ransom, and you're willing to risk and forfeit, present safety and long-term safety. And players know that, It's not so much about the concussions as it is and what happened in the past as it is what the NFL and the owners knew and didn't divulge to players. That's what it's more about than anything else. There was information that they knew that they could have brought to the forefront and brought to light to let players know, hey, these are the long-term ramifications of concussions, and yet, they continue to push players back out on the field under the threat of, being cut and so on and so forth. Having multiple concussions. So, where we are, is the culmination of a lot of different things that's come together. The NFL is trying to protect itself and its entity, trying to, say that they want to protect the players, but, the real on this game, it's a gladiator's game.
No doubt about it. Seth, the interesting thing is we just said that defense would be getting flagged, but right before you jumped on, I said of those guys, like, you probably would have fit in today's game with the 24 interceptions, 52 sacks. I mean, you were good against the run. You could defend the pass. You could intercept. You could blitz. I mean, your style of play back then, it would have been a really good style today where you don't have that classic Mike Singletary type middle linebacker. A lot of guys are like you, those outside rushing guys that can get back into coverage.
Well, I mean, you're talking about two different types of linebackers. You're talking about the difference between, a 4-3 linebacker that can play on the ball or off the ball, opposed, to a straight middle backer. We're talking about a different game from the standpoint that we're no longer playing, a smash mouth game until we get in a situation where we need to, and some teams can still do it and some teams can't. It's a game of finesse. And it's really a finesse game. You got linebackers that weigh 230 pounds playing against offensive linemen that weigh 330 pounds, and you're not dominating the line of scrimmage, then that tells me that, we're playing a game of finesse and something's off, something's wrong. But the game has certainly changed. And, I would like to believe that I could have played and could have strove in any era of football. That's just my opinion.
We're talking with Seth Joyner. He's going to go in the Eagles Hall of Fame with his teammate Clyde Simmons. They were part of some great Eagle defenses back there during the early 90s. And then, of course, we fast forward to this team, which you do the pre- and post-game stuff for NBC Philadelphia. So you're still very connected to the team. And obviously Carson Wentz being back, we've had a lot of debate on whether he's going to be rusty or whether or not you're going to see. I think you're going to see Carson Wentz, and it's going to be business as usual. Do you think that Doug Peterson and this Eagles team, we're going to see the old Carson Wentz, and it's just going to be like riding a bike, or do you think they're going to ease him into this thing?
I don't. Carson is not the type of player that you ease into anything. I think he's got his way of playing. I think there's some things that he's learned that he realized he has to change in order to stay healthy. But I think he's just himself, and I don't think he's really going to change much of that. Listen, we've been watching this kid, practice all through training camp. he started off in 7-on-7, and the next thing you know, he was doing some 11-on-11. Then all of a sudden, they got a little cautious, and they pulled him out of the 11-on-11. You know, they delayed, you know, his readiness, and now, you know, he's ready to go. You know, Doug has said, you know, listen, he's been chomping at the bit. You know, he's felt like he's been ready to go for the last month or so. I think, you know, he knows his body better than anybody, but I think that they had a date through which they were going to take him to, and they weren't going to supersede that date. You know, and then you look the last 2 preseason games, you know, they parade him out in pregame. He's going through this hour to 45-minute, you know, warm up. He's looking good. He's moving around, and everybody's wondering, well, why isn't he playing? Well, he wasn't playing because I think they had a date that they wanted to get to before they actually put him back out on the field. So it's really going to be that different. What I do think he's going to have to deal with is being on the field for the first time, you know, in 10 months, in a real live game, and the adrenaline spike that he's going to, you know, experience from not playing. And I think, you know, after the first 2 series, I think he'll settle in. It'll be business as usual. Don't be surprised to see him come out and play a phenomenal game, because I guarantee you one thing is going to happen is that offensive line is going to block their asses off for him. You know, they're going to protect him in every way. Those running backs are going to protect. Those tight ends, when called upon, they're going to protect. You know, you're pretty much going to see a clean day around Carson Wentz, and I think he's going to have an even much more phenomenal day than anyone expects him to have.
Seth Joyner, and I love watching you and Barrett, because a lot of times you don't agree. He's the offensive guy, you're the defensive guy here, but I want to get your take on the defense and what happened in that game. And are there any worrisome things that you saw against Tampa that they might take with them this season, or is that a one game on the road and they just had a bad day?
No, yeah, listen, I thought all along, you know, by the way they played in preseason, you know, I didn't like the optics of that. I didn't like the way that looked in the least little bit. And you know, people were mad at me because I actually picked the Eagles to lose the first game against the Falcons. I thought that the Falcons would do to them what Tampa Bay was able to do to them last week. You know, and I kind of felt like it was necessary. You know, they kind of needed a kick in the behind. You know, they need to get hit in the mouth. They need to, you know, realize, you know, what they're up against, because there's only a handful of guys on that team that's ever been to a Super Bowl and come back the following year to experience what that's like. You know, you're no longer the hunter, now you're the hunted, and you're going to get 16 games of playoff-style football, because every team in the league is going to measure themselves against you. You are now the barometer. You're the measuring stick for the rest of the league. Everyone wants to knock off the defending champion. So to me, that was a call for them to refocus, you know, to reshift, you know, their mindset and realize that they're in for a 17-week battle like they've never been in before.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe that this is the type of football team that will heed that. You know, the time is right to bring Carson back. He's going to infuse the team with, you know, a lot of energy. That's just a different football team with him playing quarterback. You know, he makes everyone better, from the offensive side of the ball to the special teams, right down to the defense. You know, he infuses the team with a lot of confidence and a lot of energy. And when they see him out laying it all on the line, you know, then they're motivated to lay it all on the line. So I think last week was necessary. You know, it's never good as an Eagles fan to see them lose a game, but sometimes, you know, it's necessary for you to get kicked in your behind so that you can figure out, you know, you can refocus and understand what you have to do in order to be successful going forward. I'd much rather see it in week 2 than to see it happen, you know, in week 16, week 17, you know, when you have to have a game and you kind of lose focus.
Seth Joyner, Hall of Fame Sunday. He, along with Clyde Simmons, are going to go up. I know. I want to get you real quick on Ajayi and Sproles out. Now, we kind of debated back and forth here on I'm not all that concerned, because I think Corey Clement can step in and do the job. In this league, it seems like running backs are plug and play kind of guys. Your guy goes down, you find a guy you never heard of, and he's running wild all over the field. So I'm not that concerned with Ajayi and Sproles being out. Am I wrong about that?
Well, I don't necessarily believe in this whole, plug and play. I don't believe, in the values approach that, running backs are a dime a dozen, that you don't draft a running back in the first round, because I think that they're just an integral part of an offense as any other part. If you find a guy like a Todd Gurley, a guy like a Ezekiel Elliott, a guy like a Saquon Barkley, then absolutely, you go ahead and you draft that guy in the top 10, because you know what you're going to get out of him. He can do it all. But I've been saying all along, Corey Clement has just been in a position where there's been guys in front of him all along. As an undrafted free agent, there's not a whole lot that's expected of him. But I watched this kid play. I watched his confidence soar in the Super Bowl. I watched his confidence soar the first preseason game. And I watched the way he played the last two games. And I think that if you increase his opportunities, if there was no Jay Ajayi on this team, if there was no Darren Sproles on this team, there's no doubt in my mind that he could be a number one running back and do it all. I think he's that good. But he's just been a victim of circumstance, because he's kind of stuck. They run a three-man rotation. Guys don't know when they're going to play, how much they're going to play, if they're going to play. And, that's kind of hurt him. But if he gets his opportunity to shine, I think people will be surprised at how productive he can be.
Seth, it's going to be fun seeing you go up there. It's great seeing you on the television. I think you do a great job, very well prepared, and that's not an easy thing to do. Sometimes these games, and to tell the truth and tell it like it is, I think you do that. But Sunday should be a special day for you. Maybe a long time coming. A lot of people have said of all the guys that maybe we've been waiting for Seth the longest. So what's it going to be like on Sunday for you, who you've been around this team the last couple of years, but now to be forever around this team?
Well, it'll be a special day, not only for, myself, but a special day for my family, a special day for Clyde's family, special day, for those fans who grew up in the game, watching, the old Gang Green defense. So I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of, a closure of the circle, if you will. The way things started out, the way they end, wind up, finishing off in the Hall of Fame of the team that you were drafted by, the team you spent most of your years in your career by. It's just special to know that, forever, when people walk into the vet, even years from now when I'm no longer here, that, I will always be remembered as one of the greats to ever play in this organization, and that's special.
It will be a special night, and Clyde was awesome to watch as well. Him, Jerome, and Reggie, and Pitts, and Golick, those guys. That's like a defensive line like the Eagles have now. So much depth, rotating guys around. I'm not saying the guys are as good as those. Reggie, maybe the best to ever play. Jerome was unbelievable for the people out there that didn't get a chance to see them. Byron Evans, you got Eric Allen, Hopkins. I mean, you can rip off every single guy on that team, and, of course, Andre Waters. So, Seth, we appreciate you coming on, and congratulations to you, and enjoy your day on Sunday.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Anytime, guys. Take care.